that so much of the national media is focused on this presidential race, and I'm sure a lot of us have had it up to here with whether it's Santorum or Romney. And then we have Obama, and it's almost as though, you know, the best thing about this race is that they're boosting his popularity. So the question I have is, do you think that this is something that we should be focused on right now, this presidential race, or is it a distraction?
Robert?
Whatever I say will be wrong.
No, you go ahead.
Well, no, look, I'm getting a lot of this migraine, so probably at least, you know, I've been hearing this kind of discussion a lot my whole life. I don't have the answer. I know you struggle, and you struggle with what you have, and let me answer the we. I'm very clear on the we.
Thank
You know, we are people who are being screwed over.
Yeah.
The slogan of journalism that I've followed all my life, and no one's quite sure who developed it, the role of the journalist, the honest journalist, is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And that's what I've done. I do it with great pride, and I'm not the only one that's done it. There are tens of thousands. We have a wonderful journalist in Uganda today who is writing about the Lord's Army, 60 kilometers from where the Lord's Army was formed. We interviewed her on KPFK for Truth Dig yesterday. She's a young girl, 2 years out of Brown, but for 10 years she's been working these issues. She's brave as hell, and she's there reporting. We also did an interview with someone who had been in the Lord's Army and saw his family burned and is now there organizing. And my role is to make sure that the American government or any government doesn't come in and once again make people's history for them in ways that destroy it. I mentioned before, I was in Cambodia, I was in Vietnam, I started writing about that in 1963, 64, I was there. You know, I failed. If I hadn't failed, there wouldn't be 3.4 million people died that didn't have to die. Cambodia was the finest place I'd ever been to. I thought, well, you don't even need social change. Fruit drops from the tree just when it's ready to be eaten. The people are incredible. The prince plays jazz, you know, yet we go and muck it up. Now, I've never been in Congress. You know, I've interviewed a few people in Congress, and as far as I'm concerned, they live in a different world. You know, they're not responsible. There's no accountability. My job as a journalist is to keep people accountable. I don't give a goddamn what their race, religion, or title is. I really don't care. In my book on banking, I have a very good friend that I know from the civil rights movement named Jesse Jackson. Maxine Waters was the congresswoman I most respected. She held up a book of mine, I think here in Topanga, telling everybody to read one of my books. But if you read my book on the Great American Stick-Up, you'll find out that Jesse Jackson and Maxine Waters were on the wrong side of that damn thing. They were, and so was Bonnie Frank, you know? So when you ask about the we, I think of the we are the people who are getting screwed. You know, the people are the ordinary people, you know, whatever they are. And I think there is something incredibly clarifying about this language of the 1% and 99%. It has to do, you know, with your class perspective and your racial perspective. I think that's critical. Now, getting to the specific of the election, you know, I think that honest people are going to differ. You know, they're going, and I would hate to see communities like this torn apart about whether you're a progressive Democrat or you're a Green or you're something else. You know, and on those issues, none of us are experts. We've all been betrayed. We've all misled. We've all done the wrong thing. I gave money to Obama. My wife had maxed out on Obama, and I gave Obama $500 that I didn't have at the moment, 26 hours before the polls opened, because some bundler in San Diego, where I was speaking to the ACLU, who I said, hey, it's in the bag, isn't it? She said, oh, no. Like a schmuck, I write out a check. You know, I compensated for it by writing double that amount for Dennis Kucinich a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, the only one I've given money to right now is Elizabeth Warren, because I know she is a rare, honest voice. And so I do that. But I know everyone in this room has backed people that have betrayed them, has taken a position there. You know, none of us are geniuses about this. But we shouldn't get divided over it. And, you know, we try to figure out some common position. and but support people who are struggling in the right direction.
Thank you, Robin. Cynthia, as a former Green presidential candidate, you must have a unique perspective on this presidential race. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm supporting Roseanne Barr. The nomination of the Green Party for president. And with respect to what we've been seeing on television, what I would say is that the Republicans had at least 20 televised debates. Now imagine what it would be like if we had one debate where all of the presidential candidates were up on the stage together. Now, why is it that we're seeing 20 nationally televised debates among the Republicans? Why? Has it ever happened before? No, it has not ever happened before, but it's happened this time. I believe there's a reason for that. And one of the reasons is that we see how crazy they all are. And so then, of course, you say, okay, well, I have nothing to do but vote Democrat, even though I really don't like what the Democratic Party stands for. But that is a skewed observation because you're only being showed the points of view that are acceptable inside the political discourse. And that's why it's important for those of us who do believe in Medicare for all or a single payer type of health care system, those of us who believe in peace and not war, those of us who believe in ecological wisdom. I mean, there are other points of view. There is another point of view, but you won't get it from the Democratic Party. You certainly won't get it in the Republican Party, and you won't get it from CNN, Fox, NBC, MSNBC, or none of the rest, because what they would like you to do is to be corralled inside the two-party political system.
Right.
And that's the game that's being run on us. So there's a dance that's being done. And that dance takes place every 2 years, where you get candidates who are for those two parties, and they have to try and trick you to make you think that they really represent your values. And then, once elected, they represent the values of the people who pay the bills for their political party. And that's the reality. So, now, what's going to happen with, today, if the election were held today, it's clear. Nobody wants Newt Gingrich. I'm from Georgia. Who wants Newt Gingrich as, Mr. President? Come on. And Mr. Santorum? Now, I'm a peace person. Ron Paul is the only one who I have confidence in is against the war machine. So, well, here's the thing. Although I'm not endorsing, that's not an endorsement, that's an acknowledgement of his position. I've been told that as a black person, I need to be afraid of racists. And because Ron Paul, for example, just as an example, had some pamphlets that were written a while ago, that I should be afraid of Ron Paul because he's a racist. But my opinion, my feeling, my gut, my heart tell me I've grown up, I'm from Georgia, born and raised in Georgia. I know racists. I know them very well. I'm not afraid of racists, but I am afraid of warmongers. And we got warmongers, and nobody talks about the warmongers. Can you imagine having a presidential election and nobody talks about war? Except to applaud, maybe? I mean, this whole thing is just really skewed, but if the election were held today, Obama would continue to serve as the president, in my opinion. But I would hope that we would have people who would be willing to step outside of the two-party system and vote their values rather than settling for what has been called the lesser of two evils, because as Ralph Nader says,
I have to brag.